Welcome to Meet the Candidates 2022, a voter education program brought to you by the Shakopee Chamber of Commerce. My name is Tim Zunker, and I'm the president with the Shakopee Chamber and Visitors Bureau. Our hope is that these candidate interviews and profiles will help you, the voter, understand your choices when it comes to the 2022 elections. We ask voters to arm themselves with the information necessary to make educated choices and to make casting your vote a priority. Please visit the Shakopee Chamber website at shakopee.org to find out more information about the upcoming election. And now I'd like to introduce Alicia Donahue, who's running for Minnesota State Senate District 54. Alicia, thank you for joining us today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks so much for having me. My name's Alicia Donahue. I am a wife, I'm a stepmom, I'm a clinical social worker, and I'm running for the Minnesota State Senate to do what I've done my entire career, which is to help and serve people. I have spent the last 18 years serving our neighbors and our community in some of their darkest moments in days where they needed support the most, including serving folks with mental health diagnoses, chemical dependency, developmental disability, working with folks experiencing homelessness, serving individuals who are incarcerated, and working with individuals who are involved in the child protection system. I spent half a decade working for the state of Minnesota, protecting the rights of individuals with disabilities. My 18 years of experience has provided me with a unique skill set to understand and to make improvements to the Health and Human Services budget, which is the largest part of our budget for the state of Minnesota. I am excited to utilize that expertise and translate that into policies that will serve Minnesotans to ensure that they can live a healthy, thriving life.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. If you could write, sign, and pass 3 laws today, what would they be and why?
I think the very first thing that we need to do is to ensure that 51% of our Minnesotan population has equal protection under the law. That means that I believe we should be the 27th state that will pass the Equal Rights Amendment, ensuring that equality under the law is not denied based on gender. It is imperative that we ensure, along with that individuals have the right to make decisions about their body. I believe that we need to codify and ensure that folks have access to abortion health care and that the government stays out of decisions about somebody's uterus. The decision about if or when to become a parent is deeply personal and one that should be made between an individual and their doctor. I think another really important issue that we need to address immediately is passing laws that will ensure we have sensible gun safety in our community. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm not interested in taking away people's right to have guns. What I am interested in is ensuring that when we send our children to school, that they come home to us on the school bus. That when our spouse goes to the grocery store to get a gallon of milk, that they return home. That when our sister, our mother, our father go to the movie theater to watch a movie, that they come home afterwards. And there are sensible, logical things that we can do to make sure our community is safe and that individuals that temporarily may not have access to firearms, that we're doing those things to ensure our communities are safe, that our children are safe, and that we continue to live a healthy life. Another thing that I think is really important that we need to ensure that we're addressing immediately is education. We are failing our students and our teachers, and as a subset, we're failing our communities and our workforce. We cannot cut our way to a strong education. And so I believe that we need to pass legislation that will also support our schools and our staff.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. Coming out of the pandemic, businesses are being affected by issues including workforce shortages. What policies would you support in the next legislative session to help alleviate this issue?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that the majority of those who left the workforce during COVID were women. And we know that one of the biggest barriers to them returning to the workforce is affordable childcare. I think that has to be a top priority to ensure that we are removing every obstacle and barrier to allow for those who want to work an opportunity to do so. I think some other things that we can do is, employers are really struggling to attract workers due to lack of affordable housing. That's another thing that we can do in Minnesota to ensure that we are setting our businesses up for success and that our community has what they need to have their basic needs met first, so then that way they can work and live and thrive like we all want to.
Great, thank you. According to the Office of Minnesota Budget and Management, the general fund budgetary balance for fiscal year 2022-2023 is projected to be over $7 billion. In fiscal year 2024-2025, it is projected to be over $12 billion. What policies would you propose or support in the next legislative session, considering these budget surplus projections?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really, I think one of the things we really have to look at is addressing the unfunded mandates that continue to come down from the state of Minnesota that are really shifting the cost from the state to cities and counties. By looking at those things, we can look at if cities are having to raise costs for taxpayers to offset those unfunded mandates. I know in social services, year after year, it's unfunded mandate after unfunded mandate, and then our counties are the ones that are picking up that bill. And when we've got the state who is sitting on more money than they know what to do with, I think it's time to shift some of those unfunded mandates to ensure that we are not paying the price in a different way aside from our taxes. There are lots of things that we can do to invest in our community. Ensuring that we have paid family medical leave for those when they need it most would be vital to ensuring that we have a strong workforce and a healthy community. We can invest in things like education, housing, law enforcement, and to address all of those things that I've already talked about so far and other really important topics that are being left behind when we're not able to have a conversation with the other side. We watched as the legislative cycle left lots of money on the table that could have been used to invest in law enforcement and in our public schools, but instead walked away without getting the job done.
Great, thank you, Alicia. According to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, there were roughly 395 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents in 2021 in the 7-county metro region, which is a 24% increase over 2020 levels. What are the best solutions to lower the crime rate, not only in the 7-county metro, but throughout Minnesota?
Yeah. So having spent the last almost 2 decades working with people, often in some of their darkest moments, having served as a behavioral health director at one of our local jails, that's allowed me the opportunity to learn one very important thing, and that's that people are not inherently bad. People make bad choices, often out of necessity, out of fear, out of lack of other opportunities. One thing that I think that we can do is, instead of continuing to decrease investments in social service programs, instead to invest in them, to ensure that people have what they need so they are not turning to crime. We did see in the state of Washington, when they decriminalized and legalized recreational use of marijuana, there is a substantial decrease in crime, including property crime. That's another thing that we can do here in Minnesota that I support to ensure that our officers are spending time addressing crime that truly needs its attention. We've seen both in Washington state and in Colorado and other states across the United States who have legalized marijuana, a decrease in crime rates. Other things that we can do that I've talked a little bit about already is increasing access to affordable housing. We also know that individuals, when they're supported both with housing and opportunities for employment, are not committing crimes at the same rates. And instead of, like I said, decreasing the amount of money and investments that we're spending on the community, which we're paying for in another way, if we were to put that into housing, education, we'll see a decrease in crime.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. What would your plan be to help with healthcare costs for businesses and families?
There are lots of things that we can do both in the short term and long term. And again, my 18 years of expertise has afforded me knowledge about the workings of our system that are supporting Minnesotans when they need it most and the ways that they're failing Minnesotans. One thing that I don't hear our legislature talk at all about is something called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. We know through lots and lots of research across the United States and in other countries that there are certain things that happen in childhood that are linked to chronic health problems later in life. It's been replicated across communities, across socioeconomic statuses, and all of the research is undeniable that when we support children and families, we will see a decrease in chronic health problems. Studies have shown that if we even saw a 10% decrease in some of those childhood experiences that cause chronic health problems later in life, a 10% decrease across the United States would be a cost savings of $56 billion. Some other things that we can do is we can expand access to telehealth. We saw during COVID a significant increase in ability to access physicians and therapists via telehealth. Some of those waivers have started to expire. And so expanding access to telehealth to ensure that people have reasonable access to affordable health care is really crucial. It also allows us to then focus on preventative measures instead of paying for things after the fact. Again, focusing on community programs, which will allow for cost savings for Minnesotans. Another thing that we can do, I know that about 45% of Minnesotans struggle with affording their prescription drugs. If we were to create a prescription drug affordability board, we would be able to modify and to regulate some of those things and to really watch and ensure that Minnesotans are able to afford their prescription drugs and that we are not at the mercy of prescription drug companies.
Great. Thank you. Do you support passage of sports betting in Minnesota? If so, what would be the best way to implement?
Sure. So with the support of tribal government, I would support that. I've watched as State Representative Zach Stevenson has been having conversations with stakeholders. I think that is absolutely what we need to do, is to ensure that we have people at the table who have a vested interest and who have the knowledge about the way that this will impact their business, their community, and with their support and with those individuals at the table leading those conversations and with the support of tribal government, I would support that.
Great. Thank you. Now I'd like to give you the opportunity to give your closing message or closing statement and message to the voters.
Thank you so much for the Chamber for having me. And thank you to all of you for being an engaged and informed voter. Like you, I am tired of divisive politics as usual, and I believe wholeheartedly that every problem we see in Minnesota can be solved if we work together. I am the candidate who will fight to ensure that Minnesota is putting their neighbors and our families first. I look forward to hearing from you, hearing what keeps you up at night. I look forward to earning your vote and being your next Minnesota State Senator.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. As a reminder, the views expressed in these interviews are those of the candidates, not those of the Chamber and Visitors Bureau. The Chamber is sponsoring these events as a service to the community and has gone to great lengths to ensure the objectivity. The Chamber does not endorse any candidate, but seeks to provide you, the citizens and voters of Shakopee, with the information you need to make an informed choice. The Shakopee Chamber and Visitors Bureau extends a sincere thank you to the candidates. Thank you again, Alicia. We appreciate your time and your service to our community by running for office. You are performing an important service to us all. Again, thank you for joining us for this edition of Meet the Candidates 2022. Please join us September 29th at River Valley Church for our candidate forum. Please visit the Shakopee Chamber website at shakopee.org for more information. Thank you. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.